Hey guys, Felix here. Today I'll be covering how to gem and reforge as MistWeaver Monk for 5.4, as well as what talents and glyphs you'll need to use, and talk about the certain situations you'll be needing to use them. So, hope this helps guys, and let's get started. Let's first start off with the gemming and reforging. Now, I'm going to first cover the gems. You're going to want to first socket your red gems for Purified Imperial Amethyst for 80 Intellect and 160 Spirit. You're going to want to next socket your blue sockets for Sparkling River's Heart for 320 Spirit. And then finally, you're going to want to socket your yellow gems for Misty Wild Jade, which is 160 Spirit and 160 Crit. Now that we've got the gems covered, let's briefly talk about reforging and how to stat prioritize. As it goes now, your main stat priority will be Spirit, Crit, Haste, then Mastery. You'll find yourself reforging out of Haste to get Crit if a piece of gear does not have Spirit on it, or if your piece of gear does not have Crit on it, you will be forging out of Haste. Depends on what the piece of gear is, but you always need to make sure that each piece has Spirit on it. So, whenever you go to Reforger and you find a piece of gear that doesn't have Spirit on it, make sure you reforge into Spirit and just choose which stat has the lowest priority and go from there. So, if a piece has Crit and Haste on it, but no Spirit, you're going to want to reforge out of Haste and go to Spirit. It's very important as a MistWeaver to have a lot of Spirit because it's hard enough to manage your mana as a MistWeaver. You have to have a ton of Spirit to help yourself keep that mana pool high. Now that we've got the gemming and reforging down, let's move on to the glyphs and talents. And let's also talk about the situations that you will find these choices most useful. Alright guys, the first glyph that I wanted to discuss is Glyph of Manatee. So let's first talk about this glyph, why it's useful, and its faults. Glyph of Manatee is a great glyph to have, especially if you're running arenas, because it allows you to not have to stop and channel Manatee, and that can be really useful, especially in tight arena situations. The only bad part about this glyph is you do not get to stack Manatee as fast. I would not suggest taking this glyph if you mainly heal in PvE, for a lot of the fights are long and hard, and it's really hard to conserve your mana as a MistWeaver. This glyph is not a must-have glyph, however if you can spare it, I would definitely try getting it, especially if you're running arenas. There's two other glyphs that I wanted to mention. One of them is a must-have glyph, and that is Glyph of Life Cocoon. The reason for this is because I can't tell you guys how many times that I have been down without both my trinkets, and I've been able to get a Life Cocoon off on someone that was just about to die when I was in a stun. So I'd definitely take this because you can also use this when you're trapped. The last glyph that I want to mention is the Glyph of Detox. It's not necessarily a cookie cutter glyph, however I find it really useful to get a heal off when you dispel, especially since you're using mana to dispel it. Alright guys, the last thing I wanted to cover is the talents. Let's first start off with the talents in the level 15 tier. I still think that all these talents are viable, so I urge you to try them all out and best see what fits your playstyle. I still think that Tiger's Lust is probably the best choice because you're able to dispel any roots, which can be very useful if you're trying to peel for yourself, trying to escape, or if you want to put it on friendly teammates to help dispel their roots that are unable to be dispelled, like Monk and Warrior roots. The next tier is the 30 tier. I still think that Chi Wave is still the best choice no matter what spec you play, mainly because you're able to cast it while you're on the go, and it heals for a lot more than the other talents. After that, we have Ascension. I still think that this is the best choice, not only because the extra chi, but the 15% increased mana is so helpful considering that managing mana is hard enough as it is as a MistWeaver. The next tier varies. If you're running random BGs, I tend to take Ring of Peace, because it is less likely to DR with other people's CC, and does not require you as a healer to get up in someone's face to CC him. I would not suggest taking Charging Oxwave no matter what the spec is for a Monk because it is easily dodged and that talent is basically garbage. But I would also try Leg Sweep out, so again, those two talents, I would try them both out to basically best see what best fits your playstyle. Next is the 75 tier, and once again, it comes down to what is going on at the time. So if you're versing a caster heavy cleave, in an arena or a BG, I would go with Diffuse Magic. However, if you're versing a very melee DPS heavy cleave, I would use either Healing Elixirs or Dampen Harm. Now, with the new changes to Healing Elixirs and the new passive change, where it now activates passively if you randomly drop below 35% health without you activating it, it makes it a really good choice to take, especially if you are really scared about getting focused and you don't have any outs. So again, I would try both those out and best see what fits you versus melee DPS. But again, versus casters, again, I would definitely take Diffuse Magic. Finally, the last talent that you want to take is Chi Torpedo for PvP, mainly because you can get big heal crits on yourself if you're being pressured, and you're able to use it basically on the go. I would not take Rushing Jade Wind for PvP because you cannot really afford to waste that global when doing PvP, and I've been healed for big crits with Chi Torpedo, around 100k. However, for PvE, I would take Rushing Jade Wind because it's easy to keep everyone up and it's really good AoE heals. But again, you cannot waste that global for PvP because some classes are just way too bursty. And that basically concludes the 5.4 MistWeaver guide. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment in the description, or if you have any personal questions or comments for me, you can always drop me a message in my YouTube inbox or stream. Hope you all found this guide helpful, and hope to see you all in the next video. Take care.